Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit more technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets, and more specifically, we're going to continue our coverage here of this Bitcoin breakout that started yesterday, because Bitcoin, in yesterday's video when we were recording, was trading down here around $4,750, and Bitcoin has continued that rally, and is now, at the time of recording this anyway, knocking on $5,000 door once more. Bitcoin is looking like it may be about to break through $5,000, and there have been a lot of people, rightfully so, discussing whether or not this move is the beginning of a Bitcoin bull market. I discussed some of the levels of resistance that we broke through in yesterday's video, but there's a lot of technicals I didn't get to in that video, and there's a lot of things I didn't discuss in that video that I want to cover today, because there is a very strong argument to be made that a Bitcoin bull market may be about to start. We're going to be discussing all of that and more in today's video, guys, so if you enjoyed today's video, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and smashing that notification bell, guys. Also, one thing I want to mention is that I've done a little bit of tweaking during the editing, so tell me if you notice any different in the video quality for today's video in the comment section down below. More than likely, you shouldn't notice anything at all. But anyway, now without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Bitcoin is, of course, at the time of recording this anyway, trading around $4,992. It is up something like 25%, 23% from when Bitcoin first broke out down here just yesterday. Bitcoin's up around 22%, depending on the exchange you look at and where you draw your levels. Bitcoin actually started this rally right down here, right around the level of $4,100, maybe $4,150, depending on how you want to draw this, where you want to say it started. Perhaps you want to say it started here on yesterday's candlestick. If you do that, then Bitcoin is up right around 21%, which is a ridiculously large move. We haven't seen a move that major in Bitcoin in a very long time. The last time we saw a move even close to that was probably back over here in July of 2018, like 8 months ago. Bitcoin rallied like 15% in 2 days. The last time that I can remember that Bitcoin rallied anywhere near as hard and as quickly and as fast as it did today was probably back over here in December of 2017, when Bitcoin rallied 25% in 1 day. And guys, that wasn't at the tail end of a bear market in the accumulation phase. That was at the climax of a bull market. So this is a really big deal. If you see a lot of people hyping this up a lot, and you see me talking about it a lot and being very excited about this move, it's for good reason. We haven't seen this kind of thing in a long time, and we also haven't seen anything like what I'm about to show you. We're going to be discussing the volume on Bitcoin, which is absolutely just nuts right now here in just a second. But guys, I do want you to understand that this is a very major move, and there is a very good argument to be made that we may be about to be entering a bull market. Like I said, I discussed that in yesterday's video, but there's a lot I didn't get to. It's a very complicated topic that we're discussing here, so we have a lot to get to in today's video. But before we get into it, I actually want to jump on over to CoinMarketCap. You guys know I used to do the crypto market recap every day at the beginning of these videos, and I stopped it because it didn't seem like you guys were enjoying it all that much based on the watch time figures and based on the comment section. But there is something that we need to discuss here today, and that would be this number right there. Bitcoin's up 5% in the last 24 hours. Bitcoin Cash is up 50% in the last 24 hours. All very major moves. You know, the cryptocurrency markets are doing really, really well, and I mean that with every fiber of my being. Bitcoin and its crypto counterparts, like 30 of them, are in the double-digit green today, and we don't see a whole lot of losers. We do see one double-digit loser in Maximine Coin. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. But overall, the cryptocurrency markets are obviously very green. But this number right here is the number I want to point out, and this number right here, the volume on Bitcoin, is absolutely ridiculous right now, guys. If we go ahead and click this, then we can come in here and look at Bitcoin's historical volume. You gotta go over to the charts. We look at the historical volume on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's volume has never been this high on CoinMarketCap. The last time we saw Bitcoin's volume anywhere near this high was in the very beginning of 2018 and the tail end of 2017 at the climax of the bull market. We saw that there was maybe $20 billion of volume on Bitcoin, $17 billion. Today we see $21 billion of volume on Bitcoin. And if we go to total volume, it becomes even more clear what's going on here. Bitcoin's volume and total cryptocurrency market volume is absolutely ridiculous right now. If we go ahead and scroll over here, we can see the all-time high on volume in the past was probably right here around $66 billion, January 5th of 2018. Today, we're looking at about $80 billion worth of volume, guys. Let me say that again, because sometimes we get caught up in numbers and we don't really think about what they mean. $80 billion. There are only a handful of companies on the entire planet that are worth more than $80 billion, and that is a lot of money. $80 billion is like how much money the richest man in the world is worth. That's like Jeff Bezos' net worth. He's somewhere around $80 to $100 billion. I don't know the exact number. I mean, neither does he. But that is a ridiculous amount of volume. And you guys know I talk about volume a lot on the channel. because it's a very important fundamental. It's important to understand that the more volume you have, the more liquidity you have in the market, the less susceptible the market is to whales, and the more volatility you're typically going to have in the market, the quicker the market can move. And also, it's one of those fundamentals, it's one of those technical slash fundamentals, you can kind of call it either. It's really a technical, but it's one of those elements of analysis that you see a lot of people look at when they're thinking about whether or not they want to enter a market. If you've ever thought about entering into an altcoin and starting to trade an altcoin, you probably looked at the volume. If it has $10,000 worth of volume, well, you're probably not going to get into that altcoin. A whale could come in there and buy a ton of it and throw the market out of whack. But if you have something like Bitcoin with $20 billion worth of volume and a quarter of its market capitalization in volume, that's a very good sign. And that's a very good sign for Bitcoin indeed, that Bitcoin's volume has been rising and has been rising steadily here over the last couple of months. Now, of course, it's been actually on the downtrend during 2019, but I mean, in general, moving from 2018 on into 2019, we have higher volume this year than we did last year, and that is actually an early warning sign of major bullish movement. You see a lot of volume come sometimes before one of these major market shifts from perhaps a bear market to a bull market, which is what I think we're seeing. But there is one thing I want to point out, and that is that there has been some controversy over the last couple of months about fake volume and wash trading and whatnot on some of the exchanges that CoinMarketCap draws this data from. So even though Bitcoin's volume is ridiculous right now in CoinMarketCap, maybe even if you cut that in half, it's still very, very high. But maybe we take this with a small grain of salt, because it's not CoinMarketCap's fault. The API of some of these exchanges, they're simply cheating with how much volume they have. But there is a lot of volume in the market right now, guys. A ridiculous amount of volume, and probably still an all-time high amount of volume at the moment. And that is one of the technicals I wanted to talk about. That's one of the things I want to mention, because like I said, a lot of volume is typically indicative of a major move. If you were to just see Bitcoin rally here and rally 25% and not see any volume behind it, well, then it was probably just a whale coming in, buying 20,000 Bitcoin. Oh, wait, that's in the news. People are talking about that. I haven't talked about that because I really don't think that's what caused this. I think this was going to happen anyway. But normally when you see a major move like this, you want to see a lot of volume behind it to confirm it. And we certainly have seen a lot of volume. There's no denying that on every single market, every single chart. We're seeing a ton of volume coming into Bitcoin, even if we're not looking at CoinMarketCap. So we do want to keep in mind that this is very much a legitimate move. There are several other things I want to discuss. One of them is actually that Bitcoin just broke $5,000 while we're discussing this. It may be quite a bit higher by the time you're seeing this video. And I do want to talk about the strength of the bulls later on and how far we'll go and what price targets look like at the moment. But there are some things with the RSI and whatnot that I want to mention. And one of those things is that Bitcoin's RSI is getting to be very overbought. We're sitting up here at 90 on the daily. Stochastic RSI is maxed out into the overbought territories. Now, MACD on the daily chart is obviously going ridiculously bullish at the moment. This is absolutely absurd. We haven't seen this kind of thing in MACD in quite some time. You may have seen something like that back over here, but it wasn't even, I mean, this is just absolutely absurd how bullish the MACD is right now. But it wouldn't surprise me if we did consolidate here for a couple days. We did flag out. It really wouldn't be at all surprising to me if Bitcoin did that, traded sideways, consolidated for maybe a week, and then continue moving to the upside. I do still think that the bulls still have strength here, but they do actually have some resistance to punch through that we'll be discussing a little bit later. One thing I also want to mention has to do with the weekly RSI. I haven't talked about the weekly RSI in a little while, but the weekly RSI is giving us a very strong signal at the moment, and that would be this level right here on the RSI. This level right here is actually a very important level on the weekly RSI that I've discussed many times in the past, but I haven't actually discussed relatively recently. And what we see over here is that it actually kind of defines what the Bitcoin bear market looked like back over here in 2014 and 2015. As you can see, Bitcoin was under this level of resistance, on the RSI down here. It was under this level while we were in the accumulation phase, and then on this first little fake pump that Bitcoin got before it actually started the real bull market, we got a little pump on the RSI above that level of resistance, and then we fell back down, tested it as support, and then we went on the actual bull market. Well, guys, I think there's a very strong argument to be made that Bitcoin is in this phase right now and not this one, and I think this is probably one of those examples of that as well. We've been talking a lot about the similarities between the 2015 accumulation phase and this year's accumulation phase, and one of them I think is this breakout above this like 44 level on the RSI on the weekly chart, and also this movement right here. That's kind of what this looks like right now, guys, is Bitcoin is breaking bullish here, moving up and getting above that level of resistance, which is still important, by the way. Bitcoin was testing it as support in the bear market, and Bitcoin moves to the upside here, gets above it on the RSI and on the chart, and then maybe we have some kind of scenario where Bitcoin falls over. Of course, we don't know how far it would go, but maybe Bitcoin falls over, comes down here on the RSI, tests support, and then we start moving into a bull market. No matter what happens, based on what we've seen in the last 48 hours, I think the bull market is coming in the next 6 months now, probably earlier than that, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. But the fact that the RSI has been broken, this major level of resistance that we've been looking at for a very long time for Bitcoin to get above here on the weekly chart, that's significant, guys. There's a lot of significant breaks going on right now. You guys know I've talked about something like the 20 exponential moving average and Bitcoin breaking that. The last time we saw Bitcoin break that was also during this little fake pump right over here, where people probably thought that Bitcoin was moving into a bull market and then it didn't, but about a month or two later, about a month or two later, Bitcoin actually did. I think this is what we're seeing right now. This is probably what Bitcoin is doing at the moment, is it's having its first little hiccup, moving into its preparation phase, moving on into the bull market that I do think is coming, and that pretty much everyone seems to agree is on the horizon at this point. Of course, there are other levels of resistance that we want to look at that we broke. One of them, of course, would be the 200 daily moving average. This moving average, like I said, I haven't talked about this moving average a whole lot in the last couple of months, but I did talk about it a lot back over here when Bitcoin was coming up and testing it, because this is one of those moving averages. I'll be brief because I discussed it in yesterday's video, but this is one of those moving averages that can give you an indication of when a bull market is starting. The last time Bitcoin broke above it was right over here, but before that, the last time Bitcoin broke above this level was right over here in this little pump that didn't actually amount to anything, and then Bitcoin went on the bull market. There's a lot of reasons to believe that Bitcoin is either about to enter a bull market or that Bitcoin is in this phase of 2015's accumulation phase. You guys know how many similarities there are. It wouldn't surprise me if we had one more. This phase right here where Bitcoin had this little fake pump, it wouldn't surprise me if that's exactly where we are right now. And it actually does look like that's what it is. We're seeing Bitcoin break all these major resistance levels. We're seeing it break the 200 daily, the 20 exponential moving average, resistance on the RSI. The MACD is going absolutely ridiculous. We're doing this all, by the way, while we're still overbought on the weekly stochastic RSI, which is definitely concerning, but something that maybe we don't have to worry about just yet. Bitcoin is breaking a lot of levels of resistance and is looking ridiculously bullish at the moment, guys. But like I said, there is something I want to point out, and that is that all of these things happened back over here in 2015 when Bitcoin was not actually starting a bull market, but when Bitcoin was seeing this little preemptive rally right before the bull market. All of these things that happened, all these levels of resistance that we're breaking right now, all these chart patterns that we're witnessing at the moment, all of those things happened right over here, and this was not a bull market. This was a little blip in the accumulation phase before the proper bull market actually started. And that's one thing I want to point out, is that a lot of these indicators that we use to determine whether or not Bitcoin has entered a bull market, a lot of them can also be triggered by something like this, a late accumulation phase rally and then followed by a sell-off. So guys, I think there's a very good chance that a Bitcoin bull run is coming, and I do think there's a very good chance that a Bitcoin bull run is coming in the next 6 months, and if I'm honest, maybe in the next 3 months. We'll see what happens. Maybe a summer 2019 Bitcoin bull run will be what we'll see. But at the moment, I'm not entirely convinced that this is a bull run just yet. We have price targets and everything to talk about, but I'm not entirely convinced that this is a bull run just yet. But with all of that in mind, let's continue talking about the rally as it is, because Bitcoin, even during recording this video, as you can see, it's been moving to the upside. Bitcoin's up like $25 since I started recording this video. It almost feels like the bull market again, the 2017 bull market again, where you'd be recording a video and then, oh, by the way, Bitcoin's trading at $1,000 higher than when you started recording. That's the kind of thing that used to happen back then when I was making videos at the very beginning of this channel. But let's go ahead and talk about price targets. Where is Bitcoin headed? Of course, if I recorded this video yesterday, I would have said $5,000 was one of the price targets, because I recorded this video yesterday right around here. Bitcoin moving up to $5,000 was something that was very likely to me, and Bitcoin, of course, went and did that before I could even make this video, so $5,000, obviously a level of resistance. Obviously, we've already kind of broken through it. Bitcoin's still breaking through the zone of $5,000, if you will. There's still this area in $5,000 that we need to get through, so we're not quite through it just yet. Even though Bitcoin is technically trading above $5,000, there's still kind of a zone around these big evens. $5,000 is a very important big even, because not only does it have 3 zeros in it, it's also halfway to $10,000. So $5,000 is a ridiculously important level, and Bitcoin's going to really want to get above maybe 51, 51.50 before we actually see that Bitcoin has properly broken $5,000. I'd like to see Bitcoin get quite a bit higher before I'm comfortable saying that Bitcoin is through $5,000, even if, technically speaking, it is above $5,000. But as far as other levels of resistance, the next major level of resistance that I'm looking at, guys, would be right over here where Bitcoin bottomed out, right around $5,400. I'm looking at that level. Right around there also is $5,500, which is another semi-big even. That's a level that we're looking at. And then beyond that, guys, I'll be totally honest, it's $6,000. $6,000 is the next major level of resistance. And the reason for that is because what you have to realize is that when Bitcoin crashes so quickly, as it did back over here in November and December of 2018, it crashed so ridiculously quickly, and there's not a whole lot of price action going on in between this time back over here in the bear market. The last time we saw price action over here was in November 2017. Bitcoin moved through this territory very, very quickly. There's not a whole lot of trading going on in these levels between $4,500 and $6,000. So it's not really all that surprising that Bitcoin just Bart Simpsoned up here and rallied up here. And by Bart Simpson, I mean we Bart Simpson down, traded sideways, Bart Simpson up. We're seeing a very long inverse Bart Simpson pattern. I love that the word Bart Simpson has managed to weasel its way into technical analysis. That's pretty funny. But that's pretty much what we're seeing here, is that since Bitcoin moved down so quickly and not a whole lot of levels of support were established over here that can now be used as levels of resistance, Bitcoin is moving very, very quickly. And because it's moving very, very quickly, this is causing very bullish things to happen to Bitcoin. So it's almost like we banked some bullishness back over here when Bitcoin just crashed so quickly. We traded sideways for 4 months. And then because Bitcoin crashed so quickly, we were able to rally so quickly. And because we were able to rally so quickly, we broke a ton of levels of resistance that are early warning signs of an incoming bull market. So this may have actually been a blessing in disguise that we just had to wait 4 or 5 months to actually reap the rewards of. But now that Bitcoin has broken above these levels and actually started moving to the upside, it wouldn't surprise me if Bitcoin rallied to $6,000. Now, I think there's a lot of different scenarios here. One of them, of course, is that Bitcoin falls over at $5,000, starts moving to the downside, and we see that wave 5 correction that a lot of people have been discussing in Elliott wave theory. There's a very good chance that Bitcoin comes down here and moves down, maybe towards this uptrend of support again. Even though there's a decent chance that that happens because Bitcoin is ridiculously overbought right now, and every single technical sign in the world says that Bitcoin should have some kind of consolidation or downtrend to go with this rally. We're looking at Bitcoin here, guys, and Bitcoin can be kind of wild sometimes. I mean, that's part of the reason why we're in the market. And also, I'll have you know that Bitcoin hasn't been slowing down. Bitcoin over the last couple of days, over the last 36 hours or so, has not been trending sideways, has not been trending downwards. Bitcoin's been trending to the upside, and that is typically indicative of bullish price action. And right now, as I say that, we're seeing a breakout. Let's see if we can continue. If we can continue watching this. Bitcoin's trading at $5,036. I was about to say that anyway, but it's kind of funny that Bitcoin's validating what I was saying. What I was saying is that Bitcoin, even though it's had this massive rally, instead of trading sideways like you might see if Bitcoin wasn't all that bullish, or trading to the downside like you might see if Bitcoin was rather bearish, and then falling over from one of these scenarios, Bitcoin is still trending upwards. And there's a very good chance that when Bitcoin trends upwards like that, that there's more to come. So it wouldn't totally surprise me either if Bitcoin started rallying again and started moving up towards price levels up here around $5,400 to $5,500. It wouldn't surprise me, even though Bitcoin is ridiculously overbought here on the daily chart. We haven't seen Bitcoin this overbought in months. The last time we saw Bitcoin this overbought on the daily chart was actually during the last bull market. That gives you some perspective right there. Bitcoin is ridiculously overbought. We saw Bitcoin go up to, I believe it was 93 in overbought territory, 94 when Bitcoin rallied here in late 2017, and we're seeing Bitcoin do a similar thing. So guys, the moral of this story is that Bitcoin has just broken very bullish. It's done something that it hasn't done in a very long time, which is rallying 25% in a day. And actually, if you look at the 15-minute chart, it rallied like 20% in an hour, which is absurd. We're seeing record volume on Bitcoin. Bitcoin has broken through a ton of major levels of resistance that are typically early warning signs of a Bitcoin bull market, and there may even be more to come based on all the technical analysis that we can do at the current moment. So what does all this mean for Bitcoin? Well, I think it's pretty obvious. It means that a Bitcoin bull market is on the horizon. It means that a Bitcoin bull market is coming, so long as nothing goes ahead and screws this up. Maybe if Bitcoin falls over and Bart Simpson's down and goes down to $4,000, that could mess things up here. But if Bitcoin doesn't do that, and I don't think that is necessarily what is most likely, if Bitcoin doesn't do that, I think at worst, Bitcoin is sitting in is moving in towards the end of the accumulation phase and is pulling this number right over here where Bitcoin had this little fake rally, and then we started the bull market 2 months later. I think at worst, this is what we're seeing, and at best, we may be seeing the beginning of a bull market. I don't want to just jump to conclusions and say, okay, well, Bitcoin's in a bull market now. We're not going to do that here. I think it'd be a little too quick to say that Bitcoin is just in a bull market now. I'd like to see Bitcoin get above $6,000 and start using $6,000 as a level of support. I'd like to see Bitcoin break these, come up here, test $6,000, and then start rallying again with all our technicals looking great, with Bitcoin getting support on the 200 daily moving average, for example, Bitcoin getting support on the 20 weekly exponential moving average, for example. I want to see those kind of things happen before I am certain that a Bitcoin bull market has come, and I start calling this a Bitcoin bull market. But this is major, this is substantial, and you guys are going to want to keep an eye on this, because I do think that a Bitcoin bull market is coming in the next 6 months at this point, and I don't really even see an argument against that. If you do have an argument against that, tell me in the comment section down below. Maybe you're still you're on team Wave 5 Elliott prediction, where Bitcoin needs to go down to $3,000 or even down to $1,800, I've heard people call. I don't think that's going to happen at the moment. It might. You never know. Like I said earlier, this is Bitcoin. Sometimes Bitcoin does crazy things that nobody saw coming, or that the technicals didn't exactly predict. Sometimes that happens. But at the moment, guys, Bitcoin is looking ridiculously bullish, and I'm quite happy about that. Tell me in the comment section down below what you think of today's video and what you think of this move. I know you guys have been waiting for a very long time for some kind of move like this in Bitcoin, and now that it's come, I know we're all just saying, I wish I had bought more Bitcoin down at $3,200. I know we're all saying that, but guys, since we're about to enter a bull market, in my opinion anyway, wait for the right moment. There will be the correct time to buy a ton of Bitcoin before the Bitcoin bull market starts. Bitcoin went from $200 to $20,000 during the last bull market, and we did have plenty of time to enter positions during this bull market before Bitcoin ran to the all-time high. Just because the bear market is coming to a conclusion doesn't mean it's too late to buy, but always please be careful of where you buy, and especially where you sell, because you know the old saying, you don't lose until you sell, and sometimes you lose even if you don't sell, because the market dies, but that's not going to happen to Bitcoin. Anyway, guys, I am, as I've said before, well and truly rambling at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap the video up. But like I said, tell me what you think of the video. Tell me what you think of the new editing. Do you notice any difference? The correct answer should be you don't notice anything. If I've done everything correctly, you shouldn't notice any difference at all. If I hadn't said that, you shouldn't have noticed. But tell me in the comment section down below if you did. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.